Hello and welcome to the WIHS Journal Public Affairs program. I'm Jerry Williams. Well, you might remember him from the Strike Force. You might remember him from the Power Team. Or you might remember him from Extreme Impact, all which were feats of strength ministries. Well, today he spends his time as senior pastor of Elevate Life Church in Wallingford. He's also our very own Teresa Daly's pastor. I'm talking about Pastor Jeremy Baker, and today you'll hear his story and more. That's happening now on the WIHS Journal. It's News and Public Affairs. And joining us now is Teresa Daly's pastor, Jeremy Baker. Good morning, my brother. How
Praise
are you?
God.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning, Pastor.
So what's it like having a congregant like Teresa Daly in your church?
This is about Jesus, not me.
I probably can't say anything on the air right now. She's a fireball. She is a fireball for Jesus.
Okay, next.
And so are you. In fact, it was amazing because I remember interviewing you when you were with Extreme Impact, maybe a decade ago. And then you were going around doing all these feats of strength, this ministry, and it was an incredible thing. You were at Crossroads Community Cathedral. You were at the First Cathedral. And then you just vanished. And then fast forwarding, I get invited to Teresa's church to hear this brother, former NFL kicker of New York Football Giants, to give a message. And I come and I understand that they had a new pastor. And I walk in and the AV guy comes up to me, and it was like God just blew him to me and just started giving me all this information. Our new pastor, who's your new pastor? Jeremy Baker. I said, wait a minute. Extreme Impact Jeremy Baker? He said, yes, sir. I said, I guess I was in the right place at the right time, and here you are for the second time since you've been at Elevate. It's now been a year now, right?
Yeah, so we left. So long story short, we kind of disappeared a little bit, went off the map for about 12 years, just did some ministry down south, and then God put it on our heart, brought us back to Connecticut, and we've been here now for 1 year in Wallingford. Wow. And it's been a beautiful thing. 1 year of planning the church, of building and seeing what God's doing. And so there's been an incredible story here in the last year. It's been a beautiful thing.
Right. So you were in Texas. You were executive pastor at a big congregation out there. What was that like, and what happened?
Yeah, so I was down south, and really God put us down there to learn, to grow, to develop some skill sets and serve my pastor, who's still my pastor today. I believe every pastor should have a pastor.
Amen.
And so long story short, was there for about 10 years. God put it on our heart to come to Connecticut. You know, as you look at the Northeast is really a region where we are the most unchurched group of people in America. The Northeast is. And so God put it on our heart. We prayed about a year, talking to the Lord. God, we've got to reach some people in the Northeast. There's got to be some life-giving churches. And there's great churches in this state, great people, great godly men and women. But God put on our heart to come up here and establish an Elevate Life Church, you know. And so in that, we transitioned up here. And so it's been a beautiful thing. I'll tell you, in the last year, we've seen 103 people commit their life to Christ, 48 baptisms. We've had 412 first-time guests come through our doors. We've had 222 people call that have joined the church, calling Elevate Life Church their home church. Just in 1 year, we've seen God move. It's been amazing.
And I knew that when I was invited to come and not knowing it was you there, and when I found out it was you, I said to myself, well, I said to some people, I said, you guys going to need a bigger boat here. You're going to outgrow this building with this guy here. Your thoughts, Teresa?
Oh, well, you know, I'm saying this respectfully. You could sling it out there, let me tell you. The gospel is being really preached. And we need to hear the gospel, because to them that perish, the gospel is foolishness, but to us that believe, it is the power of God. And I want to say this, I thank you for coming and obeying God. There are people that come to church, and I'm relating to when I first got, I was so ashamed of myself and the way I looked and dressed and I'm not good enough. But you are so transparent and you're laid back. It makes the visitor so welcome, able to receive that. And could you just share a little bit how God has instructed you and guided you in that area?
You know, as growing up in church, my dad's a pastor, my in-laws are pastors. I think being in the church for a long time, there is a, and it's not a negative thing, it's just a thing, it's a human thing. Yeah. We can become somewhat fake in our faith. We can become fake in our faith. We can put our Sunday best on and act like we got it all together, and we don't have any kind of trauma, any kind of drama, any kind of tragedies, or any kind of things that we got going in our life. And I think it's so important as a believer that we carry out the goodness and the mercy and the grace of God, to be authentic, to be the real us, to say, you know what, I'm not perfect. I fall, but I get back up. I make mistakes, but God forgives me. I might miss it with people, but I ask them to forgive me. I get myself back up. I lead myself in a healthy way. And I think that's the difference between having a transactional church and a transformational church. God did not call us just to have a transactional gospel. It's supposed to be a transformational gospel. It's supposed to be something that will change your heart, change your mind, change the way you do life, change the way you behave, change the way you think. And I think that's the heart that I try to keep at 100. I try to be authentic. I try to say, hey, this week I got caught up in maybe behind a driver that wasn't driving right, and I maybe lost my peace. But I can be authentic in that, because God can forgive me even when I'm not driving right.
And one other thing too, and I could relate to a lot of that, especially the driving thing this morning, about stirring yourself up when things are just like, you feel like you got a safe on you, and you get that, you get opposition, and you got things coming all, because it's lonely at the top sometimes. Okay, how do you stirring yourself up? Is that is important?
Yeah, so I think for me, how do I lead myself is the most important thing. I think frustration, I even talked about it a little bit on Sunday, frustration is an invitation to go to the next level. Frustration is not necessarily failure. Frustration is an invitation to go to the next level. But if we don't process the frustration healthy, it becomes an irritation. And when you scratch the irritation, now it becomes an open wound. Now you're leaking. Now you're projecting things that are unhealthy. So how do we lead ourselves? Well, I lead myself by praying. I lead myself by worshiping. I lead myself by listening to the morning drive-in with you guys. I lead myself to say, God, you know what, today, this is the day the Lord has made. God, you've given me this day, so I'm going to manage the day that you've given me. Sometimes we take the day for granted, and you know what? We're not guaranteed another day, but thank God we're alive today. Thank God he woke us up. Thank God we're healthy, we're strong. We've got rightness of mind. We got health in our body. Our heart is beating strong. Blood is running through our veins. I think that's the perspective that we got to have. How do I lead myself? When I feel the weight, the pressure, the tension of life, how do I do that? I rest in my press. I rest in the glory of God.
I like
that.
See, that's a T-shirt. I rest in my press.
There you go. There you go.
We were talking T-shirts off air, right. So Pastor Jeremy Baker is our special guest this morning. We are live. You talked about when you were executive pastor in Texas that people thought that you were running from something, but you said you were running to something.
Yeah, so I think when people say, why did you leave a mega church? Why would you leave a 10,000 member church and come to Connecticut? Why would you leave the great state of Texas and come to Connecticut? They say, what were you running from? What was the thing? I mean, we had 100 member staff. We were a large organization making a great impact in the great state of Texas. It wasn't that I was running from anything. I was running towards what God had put in our hearts as a family. This is the most unchurched group of people in America. And what if there was people that said, God, I'm going to make it my mission to change that statistic. I'm going to make it my mission to flip that script upside down. We're not going to be known as the frozen chosen. We're going to be known as men and women of God that are living on purpose, that are living a destiny, that are walking out the calling of God, that are literally seeing heaven come to earth, that we're going to see your kingdom come, your will be done. I think that's the heart of this whole thing. It's like, I left everything. Jesus left it all for us so that we could be redeemed back to God the Father. And so my little sacrifice is nothing compared to the sacrifice of Christ and what he's done for our life. As we're driving to work right now, or as we're thinking about what God's doing in our own life right now, in our own family, I thought about, I'm not running from nothing. I'm running towards something. I want to see people's lives change. I want to make an impact while I'm on this side of eternity. That's what I want to do.
And you just heard our conversation with Pastor Jeremy Baker of Elevate Life Church in Wallingford. Join us tomorrow at this same time for part 2. If you would like more information about what you heard today, call WIHS 860-346-1049, 860-346-1049. The WIHS Journal, it's news and public affairs.